Claire. How are you?
I'm really good, Maria. Thank you for asking.
My pleasure. How have you been this week?
Not too good.
Okay.
It's just that the days before Ethan's going to daycare, like I told you last time, he's continued to throw tantrums.
Yeah.
And he's not happy at all. And
Okay.
he's started arguments between myself and my husband.
How does it make you feel?
Rejected, angry, I can't control myself, and I cry.
Okay. That would feel really quite horrible.
Yeah, it is. And I just wanted to come because I know I need to express my gratitude towards Ethan's husband. And I just want to know how you can help me with that, how I can start controlling my anger, I suppose.
Okay. Yes, because I did note on our last session that you'd made comment about Ethan throwing tantrums and it's quite unusual behaviour for him and the stress and that arguing that it's causing between you and Justin. Would you like to look at that a little bit further today?
Yeah, most definitely. We need to have a look at my behaviour while I'm snapping all the time.
Yeah, because I think perhaps if we can sort of look at that a little bit more, and that will sort of be able to help you just as a whole with not only your relationship but also with Ethan as well.
Thank you. Yeah, Maria, I just feel like he's criticising me all the time, even though he's not, and I snap back and I'm quite angry about Ethan throwing tantrums.
How do you feel when Ethan's throwing the tantrums?
Out of control.
Yeah.
I'm not in control of the situation, and it's very unusual for him to do it. It's only just started now. Maybe it happens the day before he's going to kindergarten.
Yeah. And how does it feel for you when the arguments start with Justin?
It's horrible.
Yeah. Okay.
We have never argued in our 6 years of marriage. It's just started recently.
Okay.
It's very out of the ordinary.
Yeah, okay. How do you feel about having a look at some of the emotional triggers for you and what's setting you off? So by perhaps doing some reflection, how before the arguments and before the tantrums start, what was going on for you? How were you feeling? What were your thoughts?
I basically felt criticised that I wasn't doing enough, and I was putting too much of a burden on the family and husband to look after Ethan, and I know that's wrong. That's what I wanted to explore with you.
Yeah. Oh, your feelings are your feelings, aren't they?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. I think also looking at ways to be able to regulate your emotions could be quite beneficial for you. And how do you feel about this in looking at the communication skills that you have with Ethan and coming up with some sort of a strategy to try over the next week to be able to put them into play? So one way of being able to do it, and you tell me what feels most comfortable for you, is that as things start to escalate, perhaps this is where you could also sit down with Justin and come up with like having a bit of a deal, if you like, where before things start to escalate, you have a time out, and that is you walk away, regather yourself, and then come back to each other and actually discuss what it is that you're feeling. Often when we say, we start off with I feel, it takes away any blame, but it brings it all back onto your own feelings.
That makes sense.
And pausing. So, and just sort of might be worth looking at before you respond to him is just simply do that pause before you speak, pause, walk away, come back might be a good way of trying to sort of alleviate things from escalating.
Yeah, and that'll stop me arguing back as well, so I can walk away, reflect on what I'm about to say.
Yeah, and and also where your thoughts and your feelings are at that particular time. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, Maria, I think that's a really good idea. What about if I had a journal too and I started writing my thoughts and my feelings
Absolutely.
in a journal so I could show them to Justin as well?
Yes, absolutely.
And he knows how I'm feeling.
And often when you journal your thoughts and your feelings down, will often show there's a little bit of a pattern, and also your triggers. And when you can identify your triggers, well, then you can put a resolution in play.
Because the worst thing that could happen, we might be seeing you for marriage counselling in the future if it doesn't go well.
Well, possibly, and that's. But let's not.
Yeah, that's true.
Get it to that.
Yes,
let's try and fix it before things go into that. Into that. So, what is it? What do you think some of the triggers are for you?
It's mainly when Justin snaps back at me and I ask him to do something simple, and he says something and I snap back and it causes an argument. And especially when Ethan's throwing the tantrums the day before he's got to go to kindergarten. That's when it escalates, and that's my trigger.
Yeah, okay. Is it you really don't appreciate being snapped at?
No, I don't think anybody does.
No, that's true too. Okay. How does it make you feel when he snaps?
Horrible.
Yeah.
And I'm sure he feels horrible when I snap at him too.
Have you been able to come and sort of have a sit down and sort of talk about it with one another? Or do you just sort of, it happens and you just keep moving on?
Yeah, it happens and I keep moving on.
Okay, and then you're dwelling on it?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So there's also another technique that's called ABCs, and it's what's the event, what are the beliefs, and then what are the consequences. So the belief is it starts when Ethan starts his tantrum, is that correct?
Correct.
And then the belief is what?
But I feel unworthy because he's throwing a tantrum and there's nothing that I can do to control it. And it's like out of my control.
Okay. And then the consequence is you and Justin snap and argue. Yeah. Okay. So then we need to look at the alternative that you could then start working on. So do you feel about doing that timeout, that pausing before speaking with one another? Walk away, have a bit of a think, regather, come back to one another.
Yeah, and I'm going to write it in the journal and do my ABC like you suggested.
Which are your thoughts, your feelings, your triggers.
Yes, and just map them out.
Yeah, and do them each time. And it's not a bad idea is to just have that journal with how you're feeling each and every day.
Yes.
As well.
Yes, Maria.
Okay, because it can just show a few underlying triggers that are associated within that. All right. How does that sound for you? And it's not adding, it's a little bit of homework if you like, but without adding extra pressure on you as a starting point.
Yeah, Maria, that's going to help me with my emotions a lot. And it'll stop me crying all the time and feeling really horrible with Justin.
And could we ask, would it be worth just very quickly just considering that the negative thoughts of I'm not worthy or I'm not good enough and changing that into what could you change that negative impact to be?
I'm doing the best I can with the situation that I have, and I am a good mother, and this is just temporary.
Absolutely. So sometimes it's just about reinforcing that positive thought, all right? So let go of the negative thoughts and try and bring in that positive thought when in those moments of escalation.
I'm going to do that, Maria. Thank you.
My pleasure. Now, what do you think would be ideally the single thing that you would most like to change?
On reflection, probably myself, Maria.
And your reaction?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. I think by starting to incorporate those things in which I've suggested and you thought would be a great idea, I think might be just a really good starting point.
Yes.
Because I don't really want to put extra pressure on you when you've already got plenty.
I'm going to go to Office Works on the way home and get a nice journal.
Yeah, that's a nice idea. All right, and just record and just remember, write down your dates of each day of each time that you write in the diary.
Yeah.
Okay, because it's also can also be a good reflection.
Yeah. And what I'll do, if I'll bring my diary with me next time, you can have a look.
Absolutely, if you would like me to,
Yes.
I'll be more than happy to be able to do that.
Then you can see how I'm thinking and feeling at that point in time.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. Yeah, absolutely. All right, so we've just got 5 minutes remaining for our session for this week.
Geez, that's gone quick.
Time flies when you're having fun.
Hasn't it, Maria?
So if we can just quickly recap on the things that we've talked about, is about Ethan and his tantrums, how it makes you feel, your relationship with Ethan and the snapping and the arguing, how that's all been making you feel. And we've also come up with a couple of strategies for you to try that you're quite keen on trying, and that is time out, pausing before speaking to one another. Also, writing your feelings down, your thoughts, your feelings leading up to, during, and after, as a element of reflection.
Very good. Thank you.
Oh, and also when you're doing your diary, just remember to write down what was going on at that time. Was it that Ethan started having another tantrum? Was it the extra stress and you started, having an argument and things like that as well? Because it will help put your thoughts and your feelings into context.
And I'll do that with the ABC like you suggested.
Yeah, that would be wonderful. All right. Terrific.
So can I make an appointment to see you next week too, Maria?
I've already made that appointment
thank
for
you.
you.
All right, could you please text that to me?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
My pleasure. Okay. I just need to find out, where did I put my thing?
Can I press pause?
Okay. I think in this role play, I've done a little bit better where it almost feels like it's starting to sort of have an element of flow. But I think I could still, ask a lot more questions and obviously delve that little bit deeper. So what went well, I think just the flow is starting to sort of somewhat show itself. What would I do differently? I think keep asking more questions, go more in depth with questions. And what areas do I need to develop? Well, I think it really is still the whole process as a whole, and just getting a lot more comfortable and confident with it. And whilst I sort of do this sort of thing outside the course, I am finding a little bit on the difficult side. So I don't know if it's just, I think it's just the whole role play element of just feeling a little bit overwhelmed by it all, and trying to meet all the guidelines. It seems to be a lot for me to sort of be able to take it all on, but it's also all part of the learning. What have I learned about Claire in light of I suppose really the two things that I was sort of heading towards was doing the ABC and also the strengthening, because she's quite good at sort of being able to speak and be able to implement and being able to do all those sorts of things, is to use those as a bit of a strength. But it's also seems to be a little bit apparent that she likes routine, and when routine has been changed is potentially not really doing very well with that. So that's where it will be good to be able to, for her to be able to reflect and be able to think about what's going on for her at that time, with her thoughts and her feelings, and then her reactions then would also help her moving forward through life, and what sort of a lot of her triggers, and to really be able to hone in on them and learn more about them would be, I think, really quite beneficial for her, because as you have children, you often have to swap and change things around a fair bit and juggle, and there's lots of demands, you know, with a child within a family unit and things anyway. Um, and it's a whole new learning process for her, and a new way of having to be and do and things like that. So I think is what would be beneficial for her is to learn skills that she can obviously keep continuing throughout her life to make things a lot easier for her. Thank you.